again here on Burn Your Boats. This is the first time we're coming back to you with video, and I would apologize to you for my athletic wear appearance, but I'm not gonna because I don't really care. But here's the thing. It's not totally it's not totally a coincidence. It's not totally an accident that I'm wearing this. When I was choosing which attire I wanted to wear today, there were two considerations that I had. Two things I took into consideration, and one was this is the anniversary of the show, the 1 year anniversary of Burn Your Boats. If I mark the anniversary as like the completion of the first interview of the show. There are so many days that I could choose. There could have been the day that I decided to start the show. There could have been the day that I reached out to the first person to interview. There could be the day that I completed the first interview. It could be the day that I published the first episode to their first interview. And it was a two-parter, and so then I could choose the second one. So you might ask, why choose the second one? If the anniversary is going to start, it shouldn't have happened with the first episode or something leading up to it? Well, the second episode, it's the completion, right? It marks the end of the first interview, and it wraps up the recording and the product that was created from that interview, from the day that the interview was there. So it was like the commencement of the first product that was given to you from me. Also, by making it the second part of the interview published date, it makes today the 1 year anniversary. I tried to do it a couple of days ago. It would have had to been last week and then didn't work. And so let's be real. There was a convenience factor, okay? So judge me. It's fine. But anyway, today I really wanted to do a kind of a recap because I'm at God, what has happened over the last year? There's been so much. There's been so much that happened with the show and with me and with life, and I got married in the last year, and I've had surgery, I've had back procedures, I've gone through the medical process to get out. I say gone through. Everything's essentially done. I'll be getting out of the Army officially on the 27th of August now. Which is another reason why I wore this specific shirt. Of all the shirts that I could have worn, I wore this one as it's really the only unit physical fitness shirt that I have. And so, yeah, throw it up for the 80 deuce. But yeah, so there's a lot of stuff happening. There's a lot of history happening today, and so I wanted to kind of recap some of it and give you my kind of thoughts on what's been happening over the last year and what things are kind of looking like going forward, because it's interesting. It's an interesting story, and I love that it exists, and I love that the reason that this story exists is because of me deciding to take action on something that I've always really wanted to do, and because of all of the amazing guests that I've had on the show that were willing to give me their time, in exchange for nothing, exchange for a pleasant conversation, and which is all that I ever gave them. I hope, and that's an assumption. So maybe I didn't even give them that. So, but the other thing is the audience, and I'm supremely grateful, as always. As I hope that I reaffirm and I let you know all the time, is that I'm very grateful because I'm asking for the one non-renewable, non-refundable resource that you can provide, and that's your time, right? And I don't take that lightly. I don't see that as an insignificant thing. I think it's very significant how you choose to spend your time, and I think when you go back to the very first episode, actually, it's interesting because not the first um, recording, not the first interview, but the first evolution. The first episode of the first evolution was talking about who you choose to spend your time with, um, and and this is, I actually had an amazing conversation. Well, one of the interviews, if you guys recall, if you haven't listened, if you're a newer listener, go back and listen to the legacy episode with Steve Sherman, because it was awesome. And he specifically talked about, you're the result of the 5 people you spend the most time with, but it doesn't have to be in person contact. And now we're especially feeling that because of coronavirus. But what he was talking about was was audiobooks. Like, he was listening to Zig Ziglar, and so in the same regard, like, if I've made it into your circle and the people that you're listening to, like, that I'm one of those people for you, and that's fantastic. I think that's amazing, and I'm blessed, honored. I never would have considered myself being in a position where that would have been the case, and to do it in such a pure and honest kind of way. Like, it's not through like acting, it's not through gimmicks and like stunts, you know what I mean? Like, it's real stuff that I really learned, and also the extraction of value from what other people have already done, and my ability to hopefully extract that out in a easily and fun and digestible kind of way for y'all to consume and to learn, to have fun, learn, and grow. That's the intent here. That's like the, not the motto, but that's the intent. So when we go back, I look back at the first episode, the pilot, right? That was the first of 11 interviews, 14 episodes, and 4 months. That day, the completion of the second episode, I think it was the 13th, would have been the publication of the first episode. So from the 13th of June, over the next 4 months, there were 11 episodes. 14 episodes, excuse me. 14 episodes, 11 interviews. And I know if you follow the show, you're like, there was way more than that. Like, and it's been going on for way longer. Obviously, this is the 1 year anniversary. But that was the first block. And during that time, things started to shift for me in the way that, like, I was evolving. And so naturally the show was going to evolve with me because it's mine. So yeah, so it evolved, and the first evolution took place 4 months later, and it was a shift to to monologue sessions that were added in. The introduction of that's what you get Wednesdays and Too Easy Tuesdays, and what is it? So that's June. Now we're looking at September, and things are cruising. Like, I'm rocking 3 episodes a week. I'm considering at that point. I was like, can I do 5? And the only reason I didn't do 5 was because I was hesitant about putting too much of an expectation on myself to produce content 5 days a week. It's there. There's enough there. That's things to talk about and tools to help you develop and learn and refine. There's no real limitation on that. It was more of my own time and my own what would you like the competing priorities, right? Because I'm still active duty. At that time, there wasn't even there was like the talk of a med board and separation, but I was full time, and I was working for a good portion of that time alone in the office, and so that was, the whole shop was mine, to my responsibility, and so adding on 5 days, it didn't seem like the right move, so I didn't make it. So I kept it at 3 days, and that went on for a hot minute. This shoot, how long did that go on for? It was and went through the new year, right? So I remember the feeling going into like wrapping up December, and I remember having conversations with people. I was talking with Rudy, who was an interview on the show, talk about mindful leadership in that episode. I can't even believe I remember. Like I'm not looking at the names of these episodes. I swear, like cross my heart. I was trying to figure out the hand signal to tell you that like you could believe me, and I was gonna cross my fingers. I was like, doesn't that mean I'm lying? So, cross my heart. I swear, I'm not looking at the names of the episodes. I have some notes that I want to make sure of stuff that I hit, but I don't. I am actually and that's just it's mind blowing for me because my memory is been shown through the past to at times not be the best. And so this is one of those. This is a lesson actually. There's a lesson in there that it's the mental narrative thing, right? We go back to the mental narrative that we bring up time and time again. It's one of the most important things I think that you can do is change your mental narrative if it's in the ways where it's standing in your way as an impediment, right? If it's not standing in your way, in the ways it stands in the way as an impediment with different things for every single person in the world. Period. There are other parts of it that don't, that absolutely sit as enablers to your better self, to the improvement of every aspect of your being, or particular aspects, different parts of your internal narrative, the dialogue that's happening inside of your head. That I was about to say that my memory is awful, and I was like, oh, and I was going to fall into the trap. And instead of saying that, I said, at times in the past, my memory has been known not to be so great. So at times, so I'm not allowing the outward projection of that aspect, that negative interpretation, and that dialogue in my head to gain a footing, to gain a foundation. Because I say it and it gets a foundation. I say it again and I think it again. Foundation, and it builds up into this big, beautiful, towering castle of bullshit. So we want to avoid the towers of bullshit. So now I'm looking at what's happening with the show, right? So I was talking, going 3 days to 5 days. Decided not to do 5 days. The show's moving at light speed. We're going into December. And at the time, like I said, I remember I was talking to Rudy. I was talking to Adam Messer. Amazing. I can't even see now. I can't tell you the names of the episodes he was with because he's been on so many. But he was at the end of the year closing special. I remember looking and seeing the country report and seeing how many people or how many different countries were there, and it was like 5, 6, or 7 different countries that I had been on a consistent basis popping up in that my show, that my voice, this show, this mission had been making its way and making headway into different countries. Mind blown. Like that's some of the most motivating stuff in the world. I'm starting to get contacted from people around the world, and joining the groups and reaching out to me. And it's been phenomenal. It's been absolutely amazing. And then December hits. I do the closeout with Adam for like a New Year's closeout. And I don't remember when we did it. I think we did it really close to New Year's. It was like December 29th. May have published it right on New Year's. It was an incredible episode. Really, really awesome. We did some video. We did it in the podcast studio at WRUU in Savannah, Georgia. And that was a really cool experience. I'd been into the radio studio with him before on the local radio show that he's got. Always awesome. It's always a pleasure to work with Adam. I love that man to death. After that, I found myself. I took time off, and I actually, when I'm reflecting on it, and I'm doing this in real time right now. I hadn't really thought about this until now. I took time off. I took 3 weeks off. And I told everyone, I told that if you were there, you remember, I put it out there, like, hey, I'm going to take some time off, get reset for the year. And you know what I didn't do is I did not get reset for the year. I think that I allowed Um, Other things to stand in the way. I don't even know if I let other things stand in the way. I didn't take the time to get a clear vision on what it is that I wanted to do and how I wanted to handle the show going forward. I knew. I feel like I was fairly certain it's starting to rain now, and it's been raining on all this week. Oh, there's a bunny in the yard. Sorry, guys, you have to deal with my my bird rain. So yeah, there's been. Oh my gosh, we have this big beautiful garden, and it's right. I just checked this morning, and we have like 6 or 7 like huge cucumbers that are full up, ready to go, and then another like 8, 12 that are like on their way, and everything's just popping right now. It's crazy, but also a lot of things are being eaten by animals because we started a fence around it, and we have not finished the fence yet. And so that is a mission for this weekend. but so where was I? Things going south, right? Things like everything shifted, and like the consistency was out the window. Like I lost the motivation. I knew this is where I was at. I knew that I wanted to be more particular in the guests that I was bringing on. And it's not. I don't have a problem with a single guest that I had on. A lot of them were happenstance. So a lot of them didn't make it on, which sucked. There was one with Mariah that I need to do again because that was a straight technical issue. So was the one with Damien Fontaine. So was the one with Dr. Moshe Dekel. All technical issues that resulted in irrecoverable. I don't know if that's a word, but it is now. That's what I'm gonna say. Irrecoverable, unrecoverable. Yeah, that's probably it. Unrecoverable data. It was so bad. One with two of them, it was so bad that it couldn't be brought to life out of it. Like it was too much. It's the idea of garbage in, garbage out. And so it doesn't matter. You can use all the fine tuning tools that are amazing in the world today, which I don't have. But even if I had all of them, that wasn't getting better. Those ones weren't getting better. They were so shot and so bad that there was nothing that you could do. At least at my level. I guess I never really tried to have somebody else work with it, but Mariah's it was a Zoom call and it was completely lost. Like 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes in of like an hour and a half conversation, it just went flatlined. Like the audio, the video, everything flatlined. Nothing. So that was fun. But all of the interviews were amazing. And I knew that I didn't want to be reliant upon this goes to the self-sustainability aspect of what I hope to be propagating. The idea that I hope to be propagating to everyone is that I really want everyone to be as free as humanly possible. And I think that freedom is done through, when you look at freedom, you think like, what is it? What is freedom? Freedom is your ability to do what you want to do. And that's pretty much it, right? Like you can do what you want to do. What stands in the way between you and doing what you want to do? 8 hours that you spend a day in the office, the fact that you have agreed to go to that office 5 days a week, and whatever. You could be freelancing, but like you're still tethered. Everyone's tethered to something, and so it's like, how free can you be? How mobile? I now tie freedom to mobility. How can I take? Can I do what I love to do? And can I make money at doing it? Can I provide? And I don't need to provide a ton of money. I don't need that. I need enough money that will pay for my ability to have a roof over my head, for food in the fridge, and um, and for my ability to be mobile, right? And so I want, because to me one of my priorities is being able to travel. I want to be able to go all over the place, and I don't want my work to restrict me in my ability to do that. So I'm already making shifts in my own personal life to be this way, and that's why. And it's an amazing feeling when you're not tethered to a physical spot. There's this instant freedom, like, oh my gosh, I could. It's like it's so, if you've never had it before and then you go into it, it's weird because at first you're like, well, I can't. Like you wanna tie down to something to to get that kind of stability, and I have this here, and stability is good, to for consistency, especially for if you're producing content. But it's not necessary, right? And so that's just where I'm getting. I want to be able to pick up and go to the Caribbean with my wife for a week because we can, because money doesn't stop us from doing it, and because our schedules don't stop us from doing it, and we can work from wherever, so we can go there and work, or we can not work. That's the next step. Like, I could just choose, like, you know what, August, I'm not going to do anything for 2 weeks. I'm not going to produce anything, and I'm not going to bring in any money. There's enough there. I can take August off, and we can go travel around the Caribbean. So, I forget where I was going with all that. But so when, it was about the interviews. It was about being tied to them. My memory is getting better. I swear to God, my memory is getting better. I did not used to be able to do that, to get lost in my own conversation and to bring it back, to forget, to actively forget, and then to be able to bring it back in. That's new. That's like the last year new. So that's pretty cool. I didn't know you could improve like that, and you can. And I don't know what I did to do it, but it's here. Probably, I don't know. I don't have the answer. I wanted to, so maybe that helped. I wanted to be tethered to less to like the show being required to have a person on it every week. I'm like, no, I want to be able to choose when and where, in conjunction with the guest's schedule and everything. But I don't need a guest to relay. Like, I can shift. I can bring them on, and I can add that value when it's time to add that value. And I can also I have so much experience with the skills and the tools that you can use in the real life experience of the application of them. Because that's one of the biggest things. You see these people that are going out there like myself and trying to start something and be like, oh, motivational, like, you should do better things. Like, that's cool and adorable, but like, when have you ever applied it? When have you ever taught it to people that have applied it? I just listened to I think it's Star Talk Radio with Neil deGrasse Tyson with Yasmin in the car the other day, and they were talking about teachers. Like, what was the most impactful teacher that you had in your life, or a list of them? And Neil deGrasse Tyson goes. The question was posed to him. Neil deGrasse Tyson goes, nah, none, zero. And they were like, what? There was like nobody fostered like your genius. He's like, no, I wasn't a genius. He's like, I was a disruptor in class, and I did fine, but it wasn't anything special. It was not straight A's. And then he goes into this whole big spiel about teachers focusing on the kids that get good grades. And again, I'm like losing my train of thought. So, the interviews, the teacher, it's there. But it was, I remember that the point I wanted to bring up about Neil deGrasse Tyson in the interview was that it wasn't the teachers that did it. It was it's the focus on the change. It's the focus on the students. It's like how, that's what it is. So it's the teachers, is that we need to focus on like teachers that do well aren't the ones that produce the most straight A students. It's the ones who produce the most change in the students that they have. And so like the straight A students are going to get straight A's regardless of you, and in spite of you, and whether or not you're there, right? You're not relevant. They're going to do that. Your job as the teacher is to find that C student and bring him up to A-, to bring that failing student and have him understand. While he might end up with C's, does he understand it? Does he have a grasp on what the crap is going on? And that's your metric. And so that's when I look at like other like people like self-help gurus and stuff, like, okay, well, what metrics do you have to show that you've actually helped people? I've taken surveys at the end of resilience courses where people give feedback. I've done this. I've had people approach me after the course months later, say, hey, I tried that thing that you talked about in the course, and it was phenomenal. Like, in the way, like, it really stuck with me, the way that you presented it, and that's the kind of stuff I that lets me know that what I'm doing is right and has a real impact and can actually change people's lives because I've done it. I've had those conversations and it's incredible. It's like the most incredible feeling in the world is to know that you've had some sort of positive impact in people's lives. And that said, Yasmin and I were just talking about it not that long ago. It's like somebody reached out to her and was like, "You were an incredible leader. You had such an amazing impact on me and my life, and I'm so grateful that you were there and parts of what you how you led still leave an impression on me and how I lead today." And those calls rarely happen, right? They rarely ever happen. I had one with an instructor at a senior leader course in the Army for when non-commissioned officers enter into like the senior ranks of being a non-commissioned officer. The sergeant first class who was instructing the course, she it's funny because I messed up real bad. I don't know if I recall the story. I brought my phone into a secured area, and it wasn't really secured. It was fakes. I mean, it was really secure, but it was for fake classified materials for training purposes. But we treated it as if it was real because it's a training environment. And I accidentally left my phone in my shoulder pocket. And I went in, and then it went bing in the middle. This guy's giving this presentation, and he's doing his thing, and he like stops, just like a dramatic pause in his presentation, and he's going to like emphasize a point. And then during that dramatic pause, it goes boom. It's just so loud, like echoing, and I felt the noise against my arm. I was like, oh no. And so there was this like 2 or 3 second pause, and the NCO who was instructing, I don't know if she wants me to say her name or not, so I won't. But she was like, "Was that a phone?" And it was funny because the guy who was leading, who was like giving the presentation, like went on. Everyone knew what happened, and he went on to like, "I'm gonna cover," you know. And then like everyone was like, when the instructor asked, she was like, "Did somebody hear a phone?" And everyone was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And there was a half second in me that was like, if I can make it to the break, if I can make it out. And she was like, as soon as she asked if there was a phone, I was like, yeah, I know that was mine. I have it. I'll go take it out now, and I'll prepare myself for the counseling. Once you get negative counseling statements in these training courses are significant because they are the barrier between you and being like a distinguished honor grad, which I'd been at every single school that I had been to prior to that point. And so that was a conversation I had with her, and I told her, like my goal was still to make the list and to perform as if I was going to make the list, and I take full ownership, and I expect that that's probably not going to be the case because of that. But I'm not going to let it stand in the way. I'm like if that's the reason that stands between me and getting it, like I'm okay with that at the end. If all of my performance, like, yeah, you would have done it, but the guy who was next to you didn't do it, and you guys performed on kind of the same level. So it was years later, like 2 years later, that she had contacted me. She thought I'd already gotten out of the Army. She reached out to me on Facebook, and she was like, "Hey, I just wanted to see, like how your transition was." And I was like, "I didn't transition." She was like, "Oh, I thought that you did." And I was like, "No, still in." This was right before MedBoard came up, like a couple of months before the MedBoard like kicked into gear as a very real thing. And so we caught up and we talked about that moment, and it was interesting because she had talked about, like, she had told that story to every single class that she had taught since that day. And I was like, oh my god, well, that's embarrassing. The guy who had his phone go off in class. And she was like, no. She's like, that's not the part. She's like, yeah, of course I told that part. But if the emphasis of the story was, like, the strength of your integrity. She's like, I went up and stood, like, on the red carpet. Like, people were pissed that I had done it. And they wanted more, like, very high negative outcomes and outputs to be put on me because of it. And she stood up there and was like, no. Like, his integrity is so high. He's high moral character, and I will not let that happen. Like, I will stand in the way. So that was really amazing. And so she told that story to impress upon the importance of integrity and courage to the following classes. And so that's just to the point that, like, I never knew that. for years while she finished up her entire tour. We were like her second or third class ever, and so like she had another 2 years, 3 years of instructing before she was done. And so every single class that came up in, and every single class she relayed that. I had no idea, and obviously she probably most likely didn't get my name, out. And it's not something she would call me up to tell me. It was just really, really, really humbling to be a part of a story like that because of the decisions. And so, if you have somebody in your life that has had an extremely positive impact, I encourage you, like, let them know. Send a letter, like, send a text. You don't have to call if you feel like it's going to be awkward or weird, but, like, just let them know, like, hey, thank you. Like, you had a very positive impact in my life, and I really appreciate it. So, like, I just wanted to let you know that was good, because that encourages them to do good things with other people as well. They're like, oh my gosh, that's positive reinforcement, baseline stuff. So, yeah, I wanted the freedom, right, and everything from those interviews. Oh, and I got it, but like there was just the energy was not right. I was stressed. And my vision wasn't clear for the future of the company. It wasn't there. I had there was the interesting thing is that there was no real reason, and there was no transparent reason then or now for that to have occurred. Like the break was the thing that was weird. It was the first time I ever took a break, and so it was like it wasn't the break though. It was something within me that happened during the break that left things off kilter, and it's never been the same since. It's never been the same from the day that it went off to now. It's still not the same. And the thing is, what hit me somewhat recently when I started getting back on track and producing on a regular basis is that it doesn't need to be the same. It can be different, and it can be better. It can and just because, and that's not to say like it was bad, and I feel bad about the lack of consistency. I think that there was a 3 week stretch not on the break where I didn't produce, where I didn't get anything out, and then when it was, and even now this isn't consistent. It's Friday. I think I've been trying to do Tuesdays, and so I missed the ball by 4 days this week. So there's still a consistency issue, and I fully acknowledge that. I'm still trying to produce at least one thing a week so that each week it's coming, but it's not right. It's still not right yet. I'm still feeling out. There's so much chaos going on in my life. It's hard. I can make excuses like, oh, I have to do this, that, and the other, and it's hard. But like, I'm not carving out the time saying no. I will not negotiate. Like, this will be produced on Tuesday, and then that's something that I acknowledge. That's a lapse. But it's all of this happened before all the craziness too. Like, it was like February. And it was when I was off. It's not like I was reeling. Like, if you can imagine, or if you can remember life pre-coronavirus, pre-COVID, pre-riots in the streets, pre-protests, like that is when I just came off like the strongest ending, like all I could hope for and then some, to end the year so strong. I go into a self-induced bleh. Just and then it's followed with. I actually, I would say that I probably benefited from coronavirus. I benefited from the time away from work and the time to refocus and reconsider my life. Because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what the problem was. I still don't entirely know what the problem was. I just knew one thing. I knew one thing for sure. That was keep producing content. Even if it's not consistent, even if it's not 3 days a week, it's 1 day a week. If it's not the same day every week, it's a day. If I miss a week, I'm still going back. As long as I have the mentality that I'm like, if I took on the thought I'm gonna take a break, it would have broke me. Like, I already took the break, and that was a fun, good break. But if I took on the mentality like, I'm going to, things aren't right, I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna reset up. I know me, and the risk of everything going south and just never coming back again was too high. And I was like, just keep producing. And so I did. and as things went on, I reflected on the conversations that I had with people, and I thought about it. Admittedly, one of the big points that I had of the turnaround for me was when I stumbled across a new statistic for the show. So leading into it, like I said, I won't say it's devastating. It wasn't devastating. It was just internally frustrating. Like I felt like I was stumbling around the rocks, not anywhere close to rock bottom, but like for the show, like in my life, like but for the show, it was kind of a rock bottom for what has existed, and I felt like I'm just bouncing around these rocks towards the bottom, and just nothing's settling right, and I'm still producing, and it just feels off and wrong, and like there's not a really solid direction. Um, and I think that was one of the biggest things. I just didn't know what I wanted it to look like, and I work better when I hash that stuff out. Even if it's not hashed out, if I know that I'm on a path of hashing it out, of figuring out, like, oh, here's a general direction. Okay, let's move. Let's move that way, and we'll figure out the details as we're going. I'm much more apt to work in those kinds of regards, and I didn't have it. It was a low time, and it did not feel good. It was I wasn't depressed. That wasn't the thing. It was just to balance. The balance just wasn't there. There's a lot of stress and a lot of growing pains, and so and it inhibited a lot of stress in me, and it impacted relationships. There'd be times when I'd lash out. There'd be times when I would recluse, and that's more me. I'm more recluse than I am lash out kind of guy. Um, and so I was doing that, and then out of the ashes, I was I was on the show. I don't remember. I think I was just trying to download. I was trying to check this. I was talking with somebody about the show, and I went to go hop on the app to see like what the on my Anchor. I think the Anchor app. I went to check something, and when I did it, it was like, oh, here are your stats, and I was like, oh, like I don't. I very rarely check stats. I just like I can't let my head go there because I have really, really, really high expectations for myself, and the fact that I'm not leaps and bounds above where I'm at when it comes to numbers, and I don't want to I get so wrapped around numbers. It's why I have a watch that tells me how many steps and what my heart rate is, and did I get workout calories burned, and because I get wrapped around the numbers, and if I do that with the show, like that can spiral me back into another low. If I'm thinking I should be like 10, 100 fold more than where I'm at, um, I'll do that. And so like I don't want to. I want to produce good content right now, and I will work on the next steps are coming. The next big steps are coming, but it's just right now I'm just producing. I'm enjoying it, and I'm not just saying that it's not going to enjoy it when it grows. I will absolutely enjoy that too, but I'm just having fun. I'm just having a good time spending time with y'all, and so when I'm on there, I'm on the app and I'm seeing the stats and everything, and I see that there was it was actually a preview for a show. A preview for a show had like 10 times the amount of views than the last time I had seen it, and that was consistent for like a ton of them. And I was like, "Whoa, what happened?" Like they've just been around. I guess they've had time to marinate. I don't know. There's been no concerted marketing effort, but I mean, like they go around, and I was pleasantly surprised. And I looked and I saw the country list had expanded to like 17 different countries, and it was incredible. It was just this huge, like internally momentous feeling. I was like, oh, here we go, and I just got really pumped back up, and so I started producing with a little bit more energy, and was really happy about it, and and I got to thinking recently. Uh, so let's, yeah, okay. So I know how I want to do this. I have more stuff, right? Okay, so it was. I get these numbers, right, and they're big, and they're happy making, and I feel good. I get reinvigorated. I get remotivated to hop back on the horse, and so to speak. Like I said, the content was being produced, and it was starting to be produced more consistently, at least on the weekly basis. But um, and it still is. Obviously, like I said, this is I'm not there yet. It's coming, I swear. But I knew that something wasn't right with the show, and I'd been feeling this for a while. I kind of always knew that a name change would eventually come. I just didn't know why it would, and what would spur it. And it turns out that just it's a natural progression of things, right? Like the burn your boats concept is let's go. I actually pulled this from a website called The Recruiter, and I'm gonna just go through this for you. So the concept of burning boats is often traced back to an apocryphal, which, in case you were curious, I heard this so many times and I knew contextually it was like it's to do with stories that are old and like told a lot, and I was like it's they're historically and well circulated stories that may or may not have rooting in truth. Is my after my memory of the definition is something to that effect. So traced back to an apocryphal story associated with the conquest of the Aztec Empire by Hernan Cortez. In 1519, Cortez led a large expedition to Mexico, and the goal was to capture a magnificent treasure. So, okay, whatever. I can read through this. Basically, what it was is Cortez took his crew on a ship. They went on the ship down to Veracruz, Mexico, and when they went there, there were hard times. There's many different tellings of the story. This one talks about they had met with the people that were there. They exchanged goods, and then they got into a fight with them, and blah 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 blah. The other one is like they went there, they landed, and they were trying to set up a settlement. And when they did, they got hit like with like disease and horrible weather, and everything was just getting rocked. And the people were like, bro, we gotta go. Like, this is absurd. Ship's right there. Let's head back home. And he's like, no, burn the ships. Because you do that, it's essentially, at its essence, this goes back to it. They said it really well. At its essence, burning boats represents a point of no return. A psychological commitment to crossing a line you can never turn back from. There's no hedging. No looking over your shoulder. Everything now. All thoughts, all efforts must be focused on succeeding in this new reality. And so the idea was when I was bringing on the interview guest, it was, I want to provide you with the blueprint to success. And there's not one. And I know that. The world is nuanced. And I know that I wanted, if I was going to make a show, if I was going to make content, I want it to be nuanced. And so I want to bring on as many guests from different sectors and to talk from their perspective of expertise that and most of them are like, I'm not an expert. Like, okay, you're more of an expert on running a business than anybody else who hasn't run a business. All right, we're really gonna test. We're really gonna test my ability to edit and make magic happen now, because I just got a phone call from my beautiful, amazing, lovely wife. It also has impeccable timing. So what I was saying was, if you own a business, if you've already started a business and you're up and you're operational and you're selling things to people, goods, services, whatever it is, like, you have done that however many times more than anybody who hasn't. And so you are an expert. You are then more of an expert in that field than anybody else who's there. And so while some of my guests wouldn't consider themselves experts, they are experts to the audience in which I am talking to. Even other business owners, if you've opened a business, like your ability to gain further perspective from those people who have done it in other industries, or even industries similar to your own. If it's happened to match up with one of the guests, which I imagine that it has in some way, shape, or form, because it's been such a diverse set. But it's to the point. It's Burn Your Boats has this specific energy around it, right? And it's not wrong. And I've gotten into, I'd say the biggest tussles, the biggest feathers that have been ruffled have been because of the name of the show, which is super interesting and has nothing to do with the reason why I'm changing it. But it's because it was so long ago. It has one of those hasn't happened. It actually just came up somewhat recently. Another kind of spat about the name and somebody not liking it, which is fine. And this is one way that you can know. I feel like I have to like reassert the fact that I'm not changing the name of the show because of other people, which again makes me feel like like I'm still subservient to them in some way, shape, or form. That I have to try to make that clear. But it is true. It's not. And this is the way that you know it is because this name's not going away, right? The name is not going anywhere. It's actually shifting to be one category under the umbrella of everything that I'm going to be doing. And it's just there's so many things. There's so many aspects. I've talked to and I've opened up the doors to school seminars, to going into classrooms and talking to students of at young ages, at like we're talking about fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth grade, pre high school ages, and especially definitely, of course, high school. But at that point, if you're not already, I feel like you're already behind the power curve. If you're not already open, if your mind and your perspective hasn't already been influenced by entrepreneurship in some way, shape, or form. Not even entrepreneurship, but just like financial independence and freedom in the way that I'm discussing it, which is different. It's not the gun toting, America loving, bald eagle flying kind of freedom. I mean, it is that. It is those things too. But it's not just that. It's mobility. It's choice. It's your ability to do what you choose and still live the life you want and support yourself and your family in the way that you want on top of that. And that's the goal. That's the goal of Burn Your Boats is to get people to rock people and shake people out of that state of complacency when you're going into the office and you're like, yeah, it's not like what I always wanted to do, but it's pretty good. It makes a secure life for the family. Like, what about your passions? Like, and you don't need to monetize your passions. You just need to do them, though. Like, I'm not monetized through this show. I love this. I love this so much. I give it time. I give it energy. I give it stress. I give it love. I give it compassion. And because I love it, this is my stuff right here. I am all about it. I'm all in. Money, no matter what. As long as I can physically do the work, I will do the work. Um, and that's a sign that I should. It's a responsibility to myself to do this show and to expand upon it in the areas that it needs that I can grow it into. And so there's going to be far more things happening than Burn Your Boats. But Burn Your Boats is not going anywhere. Burn Your Boats is going to be a category of probably more interview based shows and conversations about launching your business and about stepping out from that category of complacency and choosing yourself. Um, that's just not it. That's not the only thing I want to do. There's so many other things that I want to do, and in order to do them and have them properly attributed and captured in the right way, they need to fall under a different title, right? And so everything needs to fall under a different title. And I'm not there yet. I don't like it's not I'm ready. I need to get my ducks in a row. And so that's going to be what I'm doing over the next month or so is getting the next 90-day stretch is probably going to be all planning for the new Burn Your Boats experience, which is not going to just be Burn Your Boats. It'll be the expansion into the next phase of my gift and my service to you all. And super excited to go on the journey with you guys. So happy that you decided to come on and to join us for this. It's hugely impactful to me that you're here. If you are deriving value from this the same that everyone else is that is coming in and keeps coming back, share it, like it, rate it on whatever it is that you're listening to. That helps me get discovered, and share it with a friend. Just I don't want. I mean, if you want to share it on Facebook and social media and Instagram, share an episode, by all means do it. But I would rather you speak to a friend about it. Like, you know what? I think like I'm listening to this guy and it's getting me fired up, or whatever it is. Like I feel good. It feels like it's value added to my life. And that's what I want to be. Is I want to be value added. So, on that note, this is your value for the week. Late as it may be, we're here and we're not going anywhere. I'm going to be coming back again and we are going to be starting off on a whole new journey together, and I'm so happy to do it with you guys. So until next time, be safe and distance as needed. I love you, and I'll talk to you next time.